and then Lisa had made an absolutely yummy dinner. So yeah. Ah, well, it's all crazy. So I hope you've got a beverage of your choosing. I have some of the wonderful offerings from our dear friends at Bad Seed Cider. Some of their lovely dry cider. It's gorgeous, I have to tell you. So I'll wet my whistle, but I'll try not to drink it all because I'll be blathering like a good one. So this evening I'm going to do the second branch of the... No, I'm not. I'm going to do the third branch of the Mabinogi, which is a far nicer tale. It is, in fact, one of my absolute favourite tales in the entire Mabinogion. Probably second only to Culhwch and Olwen. I absolutely love it. It's got a real good vibe to it, a good solid, moral backbone, and unlike some of the other branches, it's got a really good outcome too. So hopefully not a spoiler alert for you there. So, oh goodness, for those of you that don't know, the Mabinogion is a collection of, well, it was originally 12 tales, but got knocked down to 11 in its final publishing, which was translated from the Welsh with the help of two scholars, one of which was called Ioned Tegid, if I can remember correctly, who helped to translate it into English. And I think had that not have happened, Charlotte guessed, by the way, if Charlotte hadn't have done that, then this history might well have been lost, because it was languishing in all sorts of obscure things. And now those key texts have been kind of saved and are protected. One of them's in the Bodleian Library, which I think is the Red Book of Her Guest, I'm pretty sure is there, and the White Book of Ruthock, I think, is at the University of Wales Library in Aberystwyth. So yeah, it's a beautiful tale. And it follows on from the second branch. But before we get started, I want to say hello. So hello Wendy, hello Susan, hello Laurie, and Savannah. So there you go, excellent. So you all joined us. Thank you. It would be nice, but you guys can come back and watch this anytime. Lisa asked me if I would plug this. Believe it or not, arrived today is the March edition of Today's Witch, and there is, if I can find it in here somewhere, I saw this earlier, hiding somewhere within this fine tome. I've probably gone past it, haven't I? Oh, there you go. Probably did. It's here somewhere. Here you go. Look. It's us. We're in there. That's us. And that's the church. And there's Lisa and I. And there's an article in here about meeting the awareness shop. And it's all cool. I had to write it, well, mostly. Lisa did a fair chunk, but I knocked it into sort of whatever. So we're plugging ourselves. There you go. We have some of these. If you'd like one of these, do let us know. All right, and we can get one for you. Hopefully, there you go. What else can I tell you? Super chats are always appreciated. Do like, comment, subscribe, share, do all the fun stuff. And I'll just have a wet me whistle, and without further ado, we'll get on with the third branch of the Mabinogi. Its proper name is Manawydan, son of Llŷr. Manawydan, son of Llŷr. So it follows on from the tragic wars of the second branch in the Mabinogi, where there was such senseless waste of life, and there were only 7 survivors. And Pryderi and Manawydan are 2 of those survivors. Pryderi is actually the don't worry, you'll still do another story for the Academy peeps. Well, apparently you will. I will. So obviously Lisa is watching, so that's lovely. So, right, coming back to the story. Pryderi and Manawydan are 2 of the 7 survivors that come back from that tragic battle, if you will, and after the time they spent in Gwales and all that, and the door got opened, and then they had to go and bury Bran's head at a place called Gwynfryn, if I can say that correctly, Gwynfryn, which is the White Mount or White Mound, which is actually where the Tower of London is built now. So it would have been pretty much prior to the Tower of London, but under there is where they buried Manawydan's, sorry, not Manawydan's, Brendegaidvran's head, facing France, you know, which is a wonderful thing. So, at a loss of what to do here, Manawydan is kind of like he came over all gloomy and sad. And Pryderi said to him, well, what's wrong? And he said, well, you know, I'm actually rightful heir to the throne of the Island of the Mighty, but what's happened here is while they were away, Caswallon, who was actually Manawydan's cousin, has actually overthrown and killed Caradog, who was Bendigeidfran's son, who was supposed to be looking after the country when Bendigeidfran was away at war. And so through shenanigans and you know, general underhandedness, Caswallon has assumed the throne of England, or the Isle of the Mighty, because obviously the Isle of Britain, you know. So Pryderi, of course, suggests then that Manawydan should actually confront Caswallon and demand his kingdom back under pain of death. But Manawydan refuses, saying he's seen, you know, way more than enough bloodshed in all of his time. But he won't live under the same roof as someone who had dishonoured him so much, his cousin Caswallon, if I can even say it. And that's why, and I learned this today, so that together with Llywelyn the Old and Gwygon Gwyron, son of Peredur, he's named as one of the 3 undemanding chieftains in the triads of the island of Britain, insofar as they would not seek a dominion, but no one could deny it to them. So there you go. So Pryderi, of course, trying to be, you know, the amiable character that he is, suggests, well, look, I've been left by my dad, Pwyll, the 7 cantreds of Dyfed, and if it Hadrian and Pahada, and if you like, why don't you, you know, basically come and rule over that? You can have it as a kingdom. And what's more, my mum, Rhiannon, well, she's pretty darn hot, you know, and I'll give her to you. So you can have her and you could rule over the 7 cantreds of Dyfed as if it were your own. Obviously, they'll be mine in name, but if you want a kingdom, well, there you go. And Manawydan thinks about this for a while. He ponders it and he says, well, that is incredible friendship. But yeah, okay. Assuming everybody's willing, you know, because you'll recall, if you can, in the first branch of the Mabinogi, what happened when Rhiannon was asked to do something against her will. She wasn't particularly happy about that. So anyway, they set off to Dyfed, and they arrive at the court, and there's a feast laid out, and Pryderi's wife Cigva's there. Cigva, what's her name? Gwynglawr, which basically means glowing white, you know. So Cigva means meat, but she's daughter of Gwynglawr. Let's get that right. Sorry, that's not her name. So Cigva, daughter of Glingwao, the shining one. She's his wife, and basically the idea is they're all going to live there together. So they've organised this feast, and they show up there, and then, of course, Pryderi tells Rhiannon of his plan, that rather than him sort of taking over the job of running the 7 cantrevs of the kingdom of Dyfed, that he's kind of going to abdicate his responsibilities and give it away to Manawydan. And oh, by the way, I've said that you'll be his wife. You can imagine that would go down like a lead balloon, wouldn't you? But I will say Manawydan was quite a handsome chappy, and Rhiannon was quite enamoured with him. And believe it or believe it not, they're at it like rabbits before the night's out. So needless to say, that's working. You know? She's quite happy to tie the knot with Manawydan. So all is good and wonderful and copacetic for a while, and they're all bimbling around doing the princely things and all this sort of stuff, you know, variously and together, going around the 7 cantrevs, and life is good. Until one day, Pryderi sort of gets, you know, itchy feet, for want of a better word. And Pryderi thinks, you know, well, my dad had this incredible rite of passage at this Gorseth, our birthplace, you know. Maybe it's time for me to get my rite of passage. Oh dear. Well, for those of you that don't know, that's where Rhiannon appeared to Pwyth. Yeah? So, a magical place indeed. But he said anybody that spends the night there will either receive a wound or a boon. So he's going there hoping to get his boon, obviously. So the whole tribe goes out there and they spend some time there with their retinue. And then this strange light comes over this place. There's a most tumultuous noise, this huge rustling and clap of thunder, and then a mist rolls in. And as the mist clears, because everything is occluded from view, as the mist clears, there's only the four of them there. There's not a single beast, you know, all of the flocks, all of the herds, they've disappeared. All of the dwelling places of the farm workers and the settlements, they've all disappeared. All that remains is the four of them, Cigfa, Rhiannon, Pryderi and Manawydan, and that's it. The court is still standing, but it's completely empty. There's not a soul, not a domesticated animal anywhere, nothing. It's all very, very odd. You know, they've got their hunting dogs and stuff like that, but no farm animals. It's very strange. Very, very strange. So they live on their provisions for a while, and then they begin to feed themselves off the land. You know, they'll go out hunting and see what they can catch and forage for berries and fruits and all that sort of stuff. And they sustain themselves as best they could. And individually and collectively, they would go about through the kingdom trying to find anybody, but there's not a soul to be seen. Not a soul to be seen. So eventually, they have a sit down and a little bit of a parley and think, well, how the hell are we going to remedy this situation? Well, Manawydan says, we can't sustain ourselves for here very long. Why don't we go to England and make a living? So they came to this place called Henforth, Old Road, so named for the old road that actually leads there. And what should we do, said Pryderi. What should we do here? How can we make a living? Well, hides were very plentiful in Hereford because this was almost like the seat of the cattle industry, I guess, in old England. So he had to think, and Manawydan says, you know what? Let's make saddles. Pryderi says, I don't know anything about that. Manawydan says, well, nor do I, but we can learn. And so they set about making saddles. Now here's the thing, they're rather bloody good at it. The saddles that they made were of the absolute finest construction. You couldn't get a better one anywhere. And they were so sought after that the Guild of Saddle Makers started to get their noses bent out of joint. And they saw their trade completely dry up. And so the guild got together and they said, we're going to bump them off. We'll kill them. But Manawydan and Pryderi got word of that. And so Pryderi says, right, well, let's fight them. We'll fight them. We'll not leave. We'll fight them. And Manawydan said, no, come on. I've seen enough killing in all of my time. I've seen enough hurt. I've seen too much. And besides which, we'll just be imprisoned. That this is not a good idea, whichever the outcome is. Let's go somewhere else. And so they did. They went out and they came to this place called Llanllyn. I can't do it. Llanllyenni. There you go. It's a tricky one, that one. Llanllyenni. The modern name of which is Lemster or Leominster. I know it's one of those things, but you pronounce it Lemster. It's so named for the people that lived in a land that frequently floods. That was like one of the sort of places, I guess, around the River Severn that flooded a lot. Well, what should we do here? Said Pryderi. Well, just so happens in this area, because it floods a lot, there's an awful lot of alder trees grow. Alder trees, we're in the lunation of alder right now. So what are alder trees good for? Making shields. So Manawydan says, we'll make shields. Pryderi says, I don't know anything about making shields. Manawydan says, nor do I, but you know what? We can learn. And so they set about making shields, and the shields that they made were absolutely superb. They were of the finest construction, and everybody everywhere didn't want to buy any shield unless it had been made by them. Needless to say, the Guild of Shield Makers got sorely vexed about this and started to plot to overthrow them and kick them out or kill them. But they got word of it, as the way. Pryderi, of course, says, well, we'll stand up and we'll fight. We don't need to leave. We're making a good leaving here. We'll fight them. We'll fight them to the death. Manawydan says, no. Let's not do that. It's not what we're going to do. We'll go somewhere else because I've seen enough killing. There's nothing good can come of it. If we're successful, we'll just be imprisoned anyway. So let's go somewhere else. And so they came to this fine place called Llŷr. Llŷr, the modern name of which is Gloucester. And it means, it's so named because it's a shining fortress, a vibrant port on the River Severn, which was full of bustle, and also, oddly enough, happened to be the centre of the Island of the Mighty's leather industry. Well, what should we do here? Said Pryderi. Make shoes, said Manawydan. But I don't know anything about making shoes, said Pryderi. But I do, said Manawydan, because it so happens, for he, along with Caswallon, son of Beli, and Llŷr, was one of the 3 golden shoemakers of the island of Britain. So he set about buying the finest cordovan leather. I mean, this is ridiculously good stuff. And they made the absolute most beautiful shoes you could imagine. They were fantastically fashioned, gorgeous, and there wasn't a soul would buy a shoe from anybody else unless it was made by Pryderi and Manawydan. Needless to say, the Guild of Shoemakers got sorely vexed at this whole idea, and they plotted to kill them. Word, of course, got through to Manawydan and Pryderi, and Pryderi says, damn it, we're good at this, we're going to stay and fight, we'll fight them to the death. Manawydan says, no, let's not do that. Let's not do that, okay? There's nothing good can come of this. Let's just leave, okay? Let's go back to Dufford. And so that's what they did. They went back to Dufford and sustained themselves for a while, just hunting and all that sort of stuff. And the one day, Pryderi suggested that hunting might be particularly good near Gorseth Arbirth. They've always found interesting stuff around there. But the problem is it's a fair trek from where they were, so they had to get up early the next day to get there. Now, Rhiannon and Cigfa weren't too keen on that idea. So Rhiannon asked Manawydan, look, you know what Pryderi's like. We're not going tomorrow. Just keep his ass out of trouble, okay? Because he's just... You know, Pryderi means the cause of anxiety, the result of anxiety, the relief from anxiety, everything to do with anxiety. So needless to say, Pryderi would make somebody probably quite anxious. So we know what he's like, yeah? Can you look after him? He says, yes, of course I will. So they set off well early next day, and as they get towards Gorseth Arbirth, his dogs, Pryderi's dogs, get sight of something. No idea what. But they set off like at hell's pace. Woof! Charging off there. Pryderi, of course, goes straight after them as best he can, leaving Manawydan a little bit in the dust. And just as Pryderi comes over a bluff, he sees that the dogs have got something in a thicket. And he goes up to the thickets, and the dogs are a little bit more empowered when he's near to them. And they go into the thicket, and there's this almighty noise, and the dogs come out with the tails between their legs. What the hell? You know? And this happens a few times, and he's urging his dogs in there, but they keep coming out. By now, of course, Manawydan's finally heard all the noise and the fuss and commotion, and he's finally caught up. And I guess when the 2 people were out there, the dogs were a little more valiant, and they go in there at another time to try and chase whatever it is in the thicket out, and out bursts of this thicket this most massive white boar you have ever seen. It lays its ears back and it just gives it hell for leather. And the dogs set off after it, and Pryderi sets off after the dogs. And of course Manawydan's like trying to catch up with him, but he's not quite as quick as Pryderi. Pryderi's on a faster horse. And then they go over a little bit of bluff, and just as he gets the bluff, he sees the dogs following this boar into this like newly built kaya, this incredible tower that nobody's ever seen before. They don't remember it being there, but the boar's taken refuge in there, the dogs have gone in after them, and Pryderi's just like thinking about what the heck. And Manawydan catches up with him, and Pryderi says, look, I'm going in there after my dogs. I can't leave them in there. I need my dogs. I need my hunting dogs. I'm not going to abandon them. Pryderi says, hang on a minute. I'm going to caution you here, because I think there's something very strange. There's magic afoot here. Something odd's going on, you know? Something decidedly fishy. I wouldn't go in there if I were you. Pryderi says, whatever, I'm going. And he tears off. And he dives into the fort, and, you know, as he comes into this kaya, he doesn't see his dogs. They're nowhere to be seen. There's no boar, there's no dogs, there's nothing. There's just like this empty space of this huge tower. And in the middle of it is this massive golden cauldron, suspended by 3 chains that go up as far as the eye can see, even further. It's like disappear. And Pryderi is mesmerised, and he's looking, and he reaches forwards and he touches the cauldron, and that very moment, he's frozen. He can't speak, he cannot move. He's stuck on that cauldron. Manawydan's outside thinking, night's starting to fall. For a minute, Manawydan thinks, I should really go in there and get him, but I don't think that's a wise move. And so he sets off back to the court, where, of course, Rhiannon says, well, where's Pryderi? And he explains what happened. She says, you had one job, that's all you had to do, and look what you've done. She gets mad at him, she jumps on a horse, and she says, I'm going to go get my son. And she's tearing off like in a minute. She's got this separation anxiety. Remember, Pryderi went on the missing one time before. so she's really got the bit between her teeth here now, if you'll excuse the pun, and she gives it large. And, Manawydan finds whatever horse he can, he goes after her, but she's giving it hell for leather, and she comes over the bluff, she sees the kaya, she's going in there, and Manawydan arrives just to see her jump off a horse, go inside the kaya. As Rhiannon looks in there, her eyes get accustomed to the darkness, and she sees her son Pryderi stuck to this cauldron. Naturally, she goes up to try and free him, and reaching, she grabs the cauldron, and instantaneously, she herself is stuck to this cauldron. It gets worse. Just at that moment, there is the most amazing wind blows up outside, where now, at this point, Kigva is finally caught up to see what the hell's going on. Kigva arrives on the scene just as this huge wind blows up, and then there's this tumultuous noise and a strange light, and a mist rolls in, a huge clap of thunder, and the mist clears away. And the kaya that was there isn't. And now there's only 2, Kigva and Manawydan. Kigva realises this, and suddenly she's afeard. Manawydan, of course, sensing this and being a man of honour, says, Kigva, my dear, I have no designs on you like that. I assure you, I will be the best friend you ever had, and I will not lay a finger on you. Oh, well, thank you, Lord, she says. But what are we going to do? I said, well, we can not really sustain ourselves here. We should head back to England. Well, what are we going to do? He said, well, it just so happens I think I can make a living making shoes. And so, lather, rinse, repeat. Back we go. He's buying the most gorgeous cordovan leather imaginable, producing the best shoes imaginable. And it turns out Kigva's quite the salesperson as well. And they've got an order book full. In fact, nobody anywhere in the town that they're in will buy a single shoe from anybody unless it's made by Manawydan. Needless to say, as before, the Guild of Shoemakers get sorely pissed at the whole situation and plot to kill Manawydan. Of course, he gets wind of this plot and suggests to Kigva that they hot-footed out of there back to Duffet, but had the presence of mind on the way of leaving town to get sufficient raw grain to plant 3 fields of wheat to sustain themselves over the coming season. And so they arrive back and he plants his fields of wheat and, they sustain themselves as best they can. And the wheat's coming along quite nicely, and eventually, in the due course of things, the first field of wheat he said, I think I'm going to harvest that tomorrow. It looks about perfect. Great, says Kigva. Tomorrow it is then. Off you go to harvest the field. Comes out tomorrow morning, scythe in hand. The whole field of wheat is stripped completely bare. All there are bare stalks. It's just been savaged, gone completely. Not good, this. But he looks over at the other field of wheat, well, the other two, and the next one looks like that's going to be said, well, tomorrow I got another field of wheat. There's plenty here for us. I'll harvest that one tomorrow. And so off he goes again tomorrow to harvest his field of wheat, only to find, as before, it's been stripped bare. All there are bare stalks. Every single head of wheat is gone. He goes back and tells Kigva, he says, you know what? Tomorrow this next field of wheat, this last one is ready, but I'm going there tonight and I'm going to find out what the hell's going on. And so he takes himself out, and if he had a flask of coffee or, I suppose, some bad seed cider, it would have been all right, So he's trying to keep himself awake, poking himself once in a while. And he's sort of nodding off when all of a sudden he hears this incredible noise. And this forest, this sea, this wave of mice just comes over the hill. And they tear into the field and they're climbing all the stalks and they're ripping it off and they're running away. And before he can imagine, it's stripped completely bare. Not a single stalk has got a bit of head of wheat on it. And just then the mice are disappearing, but behind them is one particularly fat mouse. And he goes, gotcha, you bugger. Catches it in his glove. And off he marches back with that. And he explains what's been going on to Kigva. He says, well, what are you going to do? Well, I'm going to hang this thief. What thief? Well, this thief. Well, I don't see a thief, Lord. I see a mouse. That's a mouse. Yes, it's a thief. And, if I'd have caught them all, I would have hung them all. But this one's getting what's coming to them. I'm going to hang him, as a thief should be hung. But, my lord, it's just a mouse. Don't sully yourself. It's beneath your station. For goodness sakes, I don't care about the mouse, but let it go. He said, I will not. I will not. Well, as you wish, my lord. So next day, he sets off, mouse in hand, in glove, more to the case, and off he goes back to Gorseth, our birth. And he's poking himself 2 sticks in the ground, 2 little forks to make this gallows to hang that mouse, when all of a sudden pops up this cleric. Good day to you, sir. Oh, good day, my lord. He said, forgive me. He said, who are you? He said, I'm just a cleric, lord. I was singing in England. I'm on my way back. He said, that's particularly curious because I haven't seen a single soul here in the last 7 years. And now you just appear. He said, well, yes, sir. That's it. I'm just a cleric. He said, well, what are you doing? What sort of work are you doing? He said, I'm hanging a thief. He said, a thief, Lord? I don't see a thief. He said, that's a mouse, Lord. Nonetheless, it's a thief, and I intend to hang it. Oh, Lord, that's beneath your station. Please, look, I have very little money. I'm but a cleric, but I will offer you £1. Not that I care for the mouse. It's just I don't want to see you sully yourself. It's so beneath your station. I will offer you £1 if you let the mouse go. He said, I will not. He said, very well, sir, as you wish, and off he trots. And so he's busying himself up now, Manawydan, and he's got the little crossbar there, when all of a sudden there's a priest on a rather well-equipped horse appears. Curious. Your blessing, priest. My blessing upon you. Lord's blessing upon you. He said, I'm a priest, obviously, but what work are you engaged in, my lord? He said, I'm hanging a thief. A thief, my lord? Surely I don't see a thief. I see a mouse. Yes, but I'm hanging it. It deserves to be hung for it as a thief. Oh, Lord, 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 no, please. That is so beneath your station. Let me offer you the sum of £3. I will not. Well, as you wish, my lord. Just whatever floats your boat, go ahead. But it's beneath your station. And so he busies himself, and he's fashioned his little noose, and he's about to string up the mouse, when all of a sudden a bishop appears with a retinue of 7 laden horses. They are absolutely laden to whatever a horse would be laden to. I want to say the gills, but that's totally the wrong word. They're weighed down with chests of silver and gold and precious jewels. You can actually see the coins glittering there. Obviously the bishop has been collecting tithings on behalf of the church. So the bishop says, hello, and your blessing, Lord Bishop. Oh, Lord's blessing upon you. Well, what sort of work are you engaged in here, my lord? He said, I'm hanging a thief. A thief, Lord? I don't see a thief. I see a mouse. Yes, I am hanging this mouse. But, Lord, surely that is beneath your station. Do not sully yourself with this. I will offer you the sum of £24. I will not let that go for even double that amount. Oh, but, Lord, if you let the mouse go, surely do not sully yourself. Let the mouse go, and you shall have this entire company of horses and all of the treasure that they hold. I will not let her go. Well, then, if you won't, this is where I have to go to my notes, because there's some good stuff here. All right? Well, what do you want? Name your price. And he said, I want the release of Rhiannon and Pryderi. You shall have it. He said, that's not enough. Well, tell me, what is it you do want, Lord? He said, remove the magic and the enchantments from the 7 cantreds of Dyfed. And he said, done. It will be done. Now let her go. No, I will not. Well, what do you want? Tell me who the mouse is. He said, well, she is my wife. I am Llŷr, son of Kilcoed. I am related to Gwal, son of Clyd, and I am here to avenge his horrible mistreatment at the hands of Rhiannon and Pwyth, who tret him and kicked him about with the game of badger in a bag. I am here to avenge them. And so I got my kinsfolk, and using an act of magic I transformed them all into mice. And I have placed this enchantment upon your realms, and I had them come, and they stole that. And you would not have caught her were she not pregnant. Now let her go. He said, I will not. Well, name your price. What do you want? That there will never again be any spell or enchantment placed on the 7 cantreds of Dyfed. He said, done. Now let her go. I will not let her go. Well, name your price. What do you want? That there never be any vengeance brought against us here in respite for what we have done now. And he said, that is a good and wise call. For had you have not asked for that, I assure you, that would have been avenged. And so the enchantment is lifted. Everybody is returned back to their place. He lets them go. He gets his wife back. Everybody is restored. The people come back, and the enchantment is lifted. And here ends the 3rd branch of the Mabinogi. And that's it. That's it. That's the story. I don't know if you guys liked it. Crammed it in all of about 30 minutes. So there you go. If you guys have got questions, have at it. If not, I'll just drink me cider. Go on, anybody got any questions? Questions, queries, comments, or complaints? I'm going for them. Don't you love the bit where you have to go, oh no, somebody's thrown me a heart. Well, thank you for that. Do mash that like button too. Do. Well, if you haven't got any questions, queries, or comments and complaints, I'm going to call it a night, because I got a ton of things I got to do. I promised I was going to wash up after dinner, and I haven't done that. So I dare say Mrs. B's already done that now. So guys, oh, there you go. Well, people are now... people are actually saying things. Well, thank you. Yeah, I love the story too. It's a beautiful story. It's got such a great, vibe to it, and intrigue and all that. It's interesting they had that much magical prowess. Well, magical world, isn't it? That's it. I love it. I do. I think of all the stories in the Mabinogi, the 4 branches, the 3rd branch is definitely my favourite. I mean, the 1st branch isn't bad. Don't get me wrong. That's pretty cool. But I just love the 3rd branch. I got a lot of respect for Manawydan. And interestingly enough, his name, some say, could be that tool, like I guess an awl, that actually makes holes in leather. So he's got this strong connection with poking holes in everything. Why shoes, shields and saddles? How long do you want to talk about that? Oh gosh. Well, for starters, they can all be made of leather, even though we assume the shields were made of alder wood. But the saddles certainly are leather, and the shoes are certainly leather, and you can actually make shields out of well-tanned leather. Absolutely you can. And in fact, I believe quite a lot of the shields, even if they were fashioned out of wood, were covered with leather. So he's got this really strong association as the awl to making holes in leather. But he's also, son of clear. It's all about emotions and interface. And that leather is like that thing that keeps the water in and the water out. If you will, transportation and protection. Yeah, why not? That could well be something to do with that. Well, there you go, guys. That's me. I didn't even glug too much of me cider, but I hoped you enjoyed it, and I had a lot of fun telling it. So thank you so very, very much for joining us. If you like what you see, tell other people. We would love, this is only the 2nd story time I've done, but I will do one specifically for, I'm not sure, I think they're going the A-list as well. So it's either A-list membership or Academy of the Occult, but you might as well just join the Academy of the Occult and get everything, because there's so much in it. There's so much. And I think our next thing is going to be for the full moon on the 14th or thereabouts. Yeah, please do join the Academy of the Occult and you can see more. Yeah, absolutely right. So guys, thank you so very, very much for being a wonderful audience, and on the 23rd. Something on the 23rd then. Or maybe the next story time's on the 23rd. I don't know. I just do what the voices in my wife's head tell me. So hopefully that makes sense. Thank you so much, guys. I'm going to call it a night, and I'm going to go enjoy the rest of my cider. So it's hard to drink when you're speaking. Thank you so very much. And be blessed and be well. And like, comment, subscribe. Do join the channel as a channel member. Thank you once again. Good night all.